Our first table features an array of whimsical sugar cookies. These are our vintage Easter postcard cookies, and they are charming. Perched atop little birch logs that we just put together, it makes a very nice cookie stand. And we fashioned some little easels out of twigs and wire to display some other postcard cookies on. And to create these lovely cookies, we selected classic Easter images and sent them to a company called Copycake. And they transfer the art onto edible paper. Scalloped scissors create a delicate border around the printed sheets. They are then glued with icing right onto sugar cookies. Once dry, the results are rather nostalgic, almost too beautiful to eat. Well, the children will tell us. And then these adorable Easter eggs and bunny cookies are sure to get gobbled up by the little ones. These were all hand decorated by Danny Fiore, whom you've seen on my show many, many times. And to make these cookies, roll out sugar cookie dough and use Easter-shaped cookie cutters to create eggs and bunnies. Danny uses tinted royal icings to decorate the cookies and finishes them with sanding sugar and candy embellishments. Every morning, millions of Americans wake up to see our next guest anchor the news on the most watched morning program in the country, NBC's Today Show. Once a month, I enjoy stopping by their studio. Take a look. Roll that up a little tiny bit.
How much?
Oh, just, it's like that much.
Okay.
That
wow,
much.
this is going to be very low cal.
Yes. And actually, of all of these, this has the most calories, but it's the biggest piece of cake.
It's 360, I read.
Yeah, and then twist
Now,
this
how
like
do you
this.
do this? Just twist around like
Twist
this?
it. Put this
like
on
it's a party favor.
I'm delighted that she found time to visit us today. Please welcome back to our show, Ann Curry. Oh, yeah, I'm going to teach you how to make a beautiful baked ham and the most delicious Thai maple biscuits.
Smells already good in the kitchen.
Doesn't
it smell great, you guys?
Yeah. So that's only vinegar cooking, so everything else will smell delicious, too. So I understand, and you didn't bring them because it's raining like crazy outside your cameras. Because I wanted to see what you're taking those beautiful photographs
Well,
with.
see, this is the thing I think people don't really realize. I think I had no idea. You are a photographer yourself, so we can talk, girlfriend. I mean, the thing about it is that, I think that I went to a doctor some years ago, and the doctor said to me, because I was working really hard, the doctor said, what are you doing for yourself? What's your passion? And I said, well, I have a lot of passions. I take some pictures, but really, I really love being with my kids, and I love my job. He goes, no, that's not good enough.
What kind of doctor?
He was just, actually, I had gone in for, no, but it was for a full exam. And, but basically what he was saying was, you have to
find,
he
said, psychiatrist.
No, not a psychiatrist, but he pulled me, no, what are you implying? But what he was basically saying is that,
sometimes we all need psychiatry.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Probably. I've been told
in fact,
that.
I'll make an appointment later today. But anyway, but the point was that he was basically saying to me, that there's a reason why we call it the Sabbath. One day a week, he actually suggested, you should actually do something that is about you and your passion.
For yourself.
Because you'll actually live longer, he said. You'll be happier. That every day he's got to tell people, your time is running short. And they always say, oh, I wish I had done this. Whatever that this is, do it. So I thought,
see, we're learning a good lesson from
I'm
Ann
taking
Curry.
Pictures because I realize that
But
is
your
something I
passion
love.
certainly shows up in the pictures. Take a look at some of these photographs. Now, tell us what this is.
Well, that's Al Roker.
Look
Al
at that.
Roker and his son, Nikki.
Gosh.
We were vacationing together.
When does he relax like that?
I know. Well, we were in Italy, and I saw Nikki reach for his father, so I actually jumped up on top of this bed and then aimed the camera down. They were so into each other. They pretty much ignored me, but I was able to give it. And it was so fun to give that to Al.
It sure was.
And this was actually just a couple weeks ago in Chinatown here in New York City. There was sort of a fog inside this restaurant, and this little girl reached out, and I
saw you.
Yeah, and shot with a very wide lens. In other words, like
really
a 2.8 aperture. I'm talking camera talk because I know you know what I'm talking about.
Now, who is this veil?
That's actually in Iran. Last year we went to Iran, and the story
that
of women in
Iran. That tells
Iran.
it all, doesn't it?
Well, women.
That picture tells it all.
Very strong women
veiled
there.
women, yep. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
fantastic.
yeah, but I want to see your picture. We have to talk some more
we
at some
will,
point about that.
We will. So I thought I would, because Easter is coming very soon. Are you having Easter at your house?
Absolutely.
What are you making?
Well, in addition to making, we make a salmon. I'm actually going to make something that you actually taught me on the Today Show years ago.
Oh,
you taught me how to make the best sugar cookies in the world.
Oh, yes.
They are epic, and you know, my family, I mean, everyone, I make them at Christmas and I make them at Easter, and they may be very popular.
Bunnies and egg shapes and things?
Yeah, eggs.
Eggs.
They're easy. The ears don't break off.
They do. That's true. So I thought I'm going to do an Easter ham this Sunday.
Okay.
In addition to a whole lot of other vegetables for the crowd. And so the ham, this is a whole ham, and it's kind of hard to find a really good whole ham. This comes from Otto Manelli's right here in New York City. Have you heard of Otto Manelli's?
I have, but this one looks cured.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, well, this is smoked. This is a smoked ham. And what I do is I put it on a piece of parchment paper, and then I wrap it up in an envelope of aluminum foil, and I cook it in the oven at 350 for 4.5 hours. So I get up nice and early, Easter Sunday, and put this in this is the first thing I do, is put the ham in the oven.
Because you want to serve around, what, 2 o'clock or something? You say you get up
well,
early.
we're going to have lunch. Yeah, we're going to have lunch probably around 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And, you know, people come for the Easter egg hunt, and then we'll have a cocktail or something. I have a new cocktail that I love.
Ooh.
Aperol and Prosecco and club soda and a big slice of orange.
I am inspired.
Yes, it's very good. I'll give you the recipe. And now, while this is cooking, make a glaze. Now, the glaze is a half a cup of champagne vinegar. That's what you really smell. Reduce that to 2 tablespoons.
Okay, so it's gotten kind of a bit darker.
Yeah, yeah, we've already reduced it. To that, we add, this unusual glaze, we add 2/3 of a cup of country-style Dijon mustard. That means it still has the little mustard seeds in it, crushed but still there. It's not refined. And some salt and pepper. So yeah, a healthy dose. Yeah, a little bit more of that.
Done.
And 1 whole cup of maple syrup. Now, Dominic, one of my security guys, he makes his own maple syrup, so I'm using his this year.
Oh,
yeah,
how wonderful.
He just brought me a quart of it, and I'm so excited.
It is exciting. You know,
It
it is
is.
exciting when people bring things that they've made themselves, and especially when it's something so wonderful.
It wasn't
and
a great
inexpensive
year
as-
either, he said, because of all the rain, but he did manage to get quite a few gallons, and 2 tablespoons of apricot jam. So now cook this until it thickens up a little bit. It reduces again a little bit. And we have some that's already thickened. You have one over there. Now this is what the ham looks like after 4.5 hours. It's nice and tender. It still has some of the rind on it, the skin. So that's yours. This is mine. So
Don't touch
follow
Martha's.
me.
I'm on mine.
No, follow me.
Okay.
And what you want to do is take off, don't dig too deep, but just take off the rind.
Oh,
Now, some people love this rind. They make cracklings out of it and eat that. But since we are all watching our figures...
And we also want to make sure that this wonderful glaze seeps in.
Yes,
right?
we do,
So we don't want anything to separate
so here we have
that.
a little discard bowl here.
Okay.
But
This is actually easier than I thought it would be.
It's much easier, and that's because it was wrapped. If you put that in the oven without a wrapping on it, that rind would become sort of rock hard.
Oh, hence the brilliance of that idea.
Yeah. So and it keeps the ham more moist and tender. I really like a moist and tender ham.
This doesn't take very long. You have to do every single bit of it, or can you sort of leave the?
Well, no. What you
edges a bit?
just shake and then take off most of the fat, leaving a little bit, like 1/8 of an inch of fat, if you can, on the edge of the ham.
Now, why would you want to leave any of it, actually?
Well, because you're putting it back in the oven with a glaze. And that little bit of ham, fat, actually, again, keeps the ham very tender.
Oh, Martha, do you actually have all your guests come on your show and do this?
Oh, well, various things. Various things. But you like ham. Do you eat it?
I do like ham. But, you know, I got to tell you, I love the idea of putting mustard and maple syrup together, because you're going to get that kind of wonderful yin and yang.
Look.
I know.
That's what it looks like.
Why am I not getting that one?
Huh? You're going to get that one, but in a minute. But I want you to know how to do this.
Okay.
So then, once you get all that off, and your fingers are nice and greasy.
Yeah.
Here's a wet rag for
Thanks,
you.
sweetie.
And a wet rag for me. Now then, you want to score the ham very nicely, and you score it. I like to do it like 1/2 inch in between the marks. Just draw it not too deep.
Okay.
You know, like
all
the way down. Yeah, half an inch apart, but about less than a quarter of an inch deep. Don't go too deep because otherwise you're going to, again, dry out the meat.
Yeah.
So it's really less than 1/8 of an inch deep there, okay?
And you're going against the grain a bit here.
Well, you get against the grain this way, and then you're going to make diamond shapes, so you're going to go in the opposite direction. Okay, see how easy it is? And then once you get this done, have your oven at 350, then you do your crisscross. See how nicely it looks when it gets a diamond pattern?
Really nice. So what you're saying is that once your ham is done, you do this, you put the glaze on top, and it gets pretty.
And then you put it in the oven, baste it a couple times at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes, then another 15 minutes, and this is how it comes out of the oven.
Unbelievable.
And it's tasty. Tasty, right?
Stunning.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
When we come back, we're going to make biscuits. So stay with us. Pretty, right? In Greece, around Easter time, you'll find Tsoureki, a braided holiday bread traditionally baked at home on the Thursday before Easter, and it's embellished with red hard-boiled eggs. Tsoureki loaves are given as gifts to family and friends to celebrate the festive season. We're using bread flour to create a good gluten formation. So into the bowl of your mixer. Now this is an easy dough because everything goes right into this bowl. There's no proofing of the yeast or anything. So 1 cup of room temperature water, 3 tablespoons of honey, Greek honey if you're making a Greek bread, and 3/4 of an ounce of fresh yeast. Fresh yeast you might have a little bit difficulty finding, but it's really worth it. And this is a living microscopic organism which converts sugar or starch into alcohol and carbon dioxide and causes the nice rising of the dough. So let this just sit for a moment to dissolve. And the honey is like food for the yeast. I love making yeast doughs. 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of orange zest, and 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and bread flour. We're going to use 1.5 pounds, which is about 4.5 cups. Now you can weigh if you'd like, which works very, very well, or measure carefully, dipping and leveling in a jar like this. And one last thing, the sugar. This is a slightly sweet bread, so 1/4 cup of sugar. So that's everything except the egg yolks. Now the machine is fitted with a dough hook, which will mix and knead the bread at the same time. And I'll just turn this on. I still have to add the egg yolks, 8 egg yolks. And reserve the egg whites for meringues, for other things. And we're going to start adding that because the dough needs a little bit of moisture. So let this knead and knead. The dough used in Tsoureki is rich with eggs, making it similar to Jewish challah bread and other traditional egg breads made around the world. So once the dough starts flopping around like that and comes away from the sides of the bowl, it's pretty much done, as much as the machine will do. Lift this up, release your dough hook. Still sticky, so you're going to do a little tiny bit more kneading. But what a gorgeous color dough, greatly enhanced by those farm fresh organic eggs that I used. So scrape away. This little bench scraper works very, very well for cleaning up the bowl and the mixer. Scrape down the sides. And this is going to make one big challah bread. And when I say big, wait till you see how big. So scrape everything out of the bowl onto a floured board. And look at how pretty. You can see the little specks of orange zest. And flatten this out. Don't incorporate any more flour into the dough because you want a moist dough. And just pull down the top here, pull up the bottom, brushing off excess, fold this in, and this. So you're making a nice little package. And this goes right into an oiled bowl. Oil with some unflavored vegetable oil, like a safflower oil will do. And then a piece of plastic wrap, brushed with a little bit more oil to cover the whole thing. Put this right on the surface of the dough and over the edges, because you don't want the dough to stick. And put this in a dry, warm spot until it's at least doubled in bulk. So here is our dough. So yellow, so great. Now turn this out onto a floured surface. You don't want a lot of flour. It's like a beach ball. Now deflate the dough and cut it into 3 equal pieces. Use a bench scraper like this, it works very well. And each of these 3 pieces roll into a snake 18 inches long. But try to make the cylinders pretty much even, because you want a nice even bread. 3. And then you pinch the ends together and you'll tuck this under and braid as you would a hair braid. Over, over. A tight braid would be good. I think that's good. Now, on Easter, they sometimes insert a red hard-boiled egg, and we'll show you what that looks like. But I prefer baking this without the eggs and serving it with the eggs on the platter, just because the red kind of bakes off into the bread, and people don't like eating that. Put this on the diagonal, and again, cover with an oiled piece of plastic wrap. If you don't oil your plastic wrap, it will pull the dough when you try to remove it and make little ugly marks. Now put this in a dry, warm place until it is doubled in bulk. So now uncover your bread. This is 1 egg beaten with a fork. That's your glaze. And carefully, lightly brush every single square centimeter with your egg glaze. Don't press, because you'll deflate what has so beautifully risen. You can brush once and then wait a minute or so and brush again if you want a really, really deep brown crust. Preheated 375-degree oven. It's going to take about an hour to bake. Now, if you were going to insert eggs with the eggshells dyed red, put your bread into the oven for 10 minutes. Remove the bread, stick these eggs into the braid, then put it back in the oven and bake for the rest of the hour. So now here are the 2 gorgeous breads that we have made. Red eggs are an important part of the Eastern Orthodox Easter tradition. The red eggs symbolize the blood of Christ, rebirth, and renewal. I do not suggest you eat them because they've already been hard-boiled and then they have been baked in the oven for an hour, and they're not very tasty, but they are very pretty. And I just wanted you to see, this is very light. How pretty that would be on your table. And I know you're dying to see what it looks like when it's sliced. I can just take a nice piece off. It's crusty, it's soft and flavorful on the inside. Don't slice it too thickly. Serve it with unsalted butter. Wouldn't you like to have a taste of this right now? A Greek classic that you will want to make and share. These plants are something else that I wanted to talk about because they're so beautiful. Now, this is a crocus, and we wrap the container with pieces of bark and then tied with twine and use some sheet moss. And then this basket, this is just like a little bushel basket that you can buy at a craft store, at a garden center, and we made the handle out of pussy willow.
I love that.
And planted it with 3 beautiful miniature orchids.
Great, and then this one.
I love this one too. This is a whole plant. This is called Salaginella. It's a kind of moss. And the same thing, a pussy willow handle, and for that special someone, a really good chocolate rabbit. So to keep him from toppling, a little skewer on this side and a little skewer on this side. and he will stand up very nice and tall. Please welcome back to the show, Livia Chetty. It's so nice to have you.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So I love what you did in the Weddings magazine, and you continue to just be so creative. And the last time you were on the show, you made some flowers. Where are they? Told me they were out here. Oh, I think that's them. These are not natural flowers, but some of Livia's fantastic creations made out of crepe paper. Unbelievable. Don't they look real? I mean, they really do look real. Maybe I'll use those in my
I know, they look beautiful.
Yes,
with your
the
shirt.
right color. So what skills do you think one needs to arrange flowers?
Well, I think first of all, you always need to learn to look at the flowers. They all have a face, a side that's most beautiful. And once you kind of understand that, I think your arrangements will always be more beautiful. You know, I think the biggest
Are these
mistake,
cherries or apples?
Yes, those are from my tree,
Oh my
yard.
gosh, that's so vibrant.
Yeah, it is a crab apple.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's a crab apple, yeah.
Yeah. So I think often people forget to get the right size vase for the flowers that they want to use. I think it's always good to consider how many flowers you have, what type of flowers you want to use, and then pick the appropriate vase.
Am I going to work alongside you?
Yes.
Oh, good.
In this instance, we've picked just a simple cylinder to make a centerpiece. It's a good shape, and it's the right height. A trick I always like to use, people are always worried, is their centerpiece going to be too tall? Are they going to be able to see their guests? And so I like to kind of just put my arm like that right on the base, and that's kind of a good rule of thumb, as high as your fist.
Oh, okay. Do you get that, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so are we going to, no frogs, no nothing to hold
No frogs. Yeah, the way that I like to arrange and get kind of a really pretty natural style is that I rest the branches along the edge of the vase and create a structure, circular structure.
And it helps if you have really good clippers, if you're using woody plants. These are the greatest. Do you like these?
Yes, they're so sharp.
They're so great.
I love these. So I kind of creating a line so it hits the corner of the vase here and then goes off to the side. Okay. And I go all around creating a structure that when you put your center flowers in, they'll be able to rest upon, kind of hold everything in place
so you
don't have
a little
flopping flowers.
Natural kind of.
Yeah, and I like to get a pretty shape, something that looks a little bit more like it came from your yard or was growing in nature.
What are these?
Those are kind of like a wild spray rose.
Oh, those are very beautiful.
Yeah, and again, that's something that would grow in somebody's yard. I like to cut stuff from my yard because it's free.
If one has a yard.
Yeah.
And do not go to Central Park and start cutting.
No Central Park.
Okay, remember that. You can get in big trouble. Or even along the highways. First of all, it's dangerous.
Yes, but you know, if you have a neighbor or there's a lot of great places where you can get pretty things. They have better shapes. They're more interesting.
These are exquisite lilacs.
Yeah, that kind of it's an unusual color. Again, when you cut it from your yard too, the tree kind of likes to be pruned. It'll grow back, you know, the next year. And you'll notice I'm cutting up the stem on all the wooded branches. That kind of helps it take in water better.
Yes, you have beautiful flowers here. These are hellebores, which are the winter rose.
Yeah.
Or Lenten rose, they call it. They bloom until Easter.
And that's a great example of a plant that I often buy at nurseries. And then I cut a couple of the flowers off to use in my arrangements, and then I can plant the remaining plant in the yard and you know, bloom again. It's a great way to get kind of a natural look.
And these little upside down checkerboard tulips are called fritillaria.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Mine too. I love them. Mine are just starting to bloom in my garden.
I also like to kind of group 3 flowers together at separate heights like this to give it a natural feeling, as opposed to polka dotting the flowers evenly throughout. I like to kind of make clusters more how they would grow in nature again.
Very nice.
Sometimes 2 stems, sometimes 3 stems.
And a lot of these flowers just come from the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so
yeah,
beautiful.
I think also the farmer's market's a great source to get flowers. Another thing to consider is where your arrangement is going to be. Today we're making a centerpiece, but if you were going to make an arrangement that would go against a wall or something, you don't have to really worry about putting flowers in the back of it. You can just kind of work on the front. So considering where your flowers are going to live ultimately is
What are these?
also good. That is a very unusual type of ixia that I've never seen before. I was very happy to bring that to you. So I knew you'd like that.
Love those. The nice color.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bunch these.
Yeah. So I'm kind of just creating this outer perimeter using 3 or 4 flowers at a time. And then this pretty ranunculus kind of like punctuate that one pretty shape.
Mine's a little more monotone than yours.
I like to mix all the crazy colors. I know
Right.
you like it more.
I'll take some of these sweet peas then. These are beautiful too.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is a great color of sweet pea.
And how many of you in the audience like to make your own arrangements? Yes. See, everybody does. And it's just so beautiful. And then you can really make your table look amazing. I'm just waiting. I have daffodils out, and I have tulips and lots of hyacinths out.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what I can do on Friday for the Easter weekend. So yours is beautiful.
Well, this is a great
Is
way
mine
to.
beautiful enough? I don't know.
No, that looks beautiful.
I don't know. I hope it is. Very fun to work with you, Olivia, and that is spectacular. I don't know if you can see it with all this stuff. Put it over there in the front so people can get a really good look. Oh, so gorgeous. Hi, I'm Martha, and I am going to show you today an easier way that I've devised to decorate sugar cookies. It's called the 4Ds: dipping, dripping, decorating, and drying. And you'll see each step one by one as I cut out my cookies, bake them first, and then do all the 4Ds. So the sugar cookie dough is my foolproof, beautiful sugar cookie dough. One of the secrets is not only the addition of vanilla into the sugar cookie dough, but also brandy or cognac. It prolongs the life of the cookie, and it makes them taste really good. So roll it out to about, less than 1/8 of an inch thick. And I like to bake these cookies because of their size on cookie sheets that are either steel or aluminum like this one with very few sides. They have to have a way for you to lift the cookies. So it's rolled, it's cold. I'm using very beautiful, do you remember the Martha cookie cutters? Cut that out, just like that. A smaller egg. Work quickly because if the dough gets too warm, it's too soft to lift, it might crack, it might break. If you find that your dough is getting too warm, slide it onto the sheet, put it back in the fridge and let it chill a little bit more. Very easy. So here's a cute little running rabbit. Okay, so now take away the negative, lift up the positive. So now that should go right back into the fridge, chill it before you bake it. Okay, so now the decorating. What we want is a cookie that looks sort of like this. See how smooth it is? And the bright yellow yolk? It's all about the consistency of the frosting. This is the dipping stage. The frosting is made out of sifted confectioner's sugar mixed with egg white. Mixed slowly, not vigorously. You don't want air bubbles in the frosting. It's also flavored with a little bit of vanilla and thinned with a little bit of fresh lemon juice. And you mix that until you get a consistency of wet yogurt. I think that probably is the best description. Take the cookie, and then you're gonna dip the top side. See, you wouldn't wanna dip this side because it's uneven when it bakes. You want that beautiful smooth side, and you just dip like this, squiggle it around a little tiny bit. This is the first D, dipping. And you can see now it's the dripping. This is a lot easier than the old-fashioned method of damming, which is taking a strip of frosting around the edge and then filling. So I am really trying to minimize the labor and maximize the good looks. So it's not dripping too much more. Turn it over, and then you can use this, see this nice little toothpick just to smooth it out. And then with your finger, you can go around the edge, take away any drips. So you've already now dipped and you've dripped. And now, while the frosting is still wet, you can decorate. This is easy one. I have my bright yellow, yolk yellow, I call that, frosting, a little bit thicker consistency, not much, and place it where a yolk would be, right into the wet frosting. Now, how big a yolk depends on your chicken, of course. Now that'll settle into the white, and that looks like the perfect sunny side up. Let them dry overnight, uncovered, and in the morning they will be rock hard and ready to wrap, hide, or to put in the Easter basket. I'd like to show you two different ways to decorate. One in the wet frosting, as I did with the egg yolk, and another on dry frosted cookies. I will do a wet cookie now. This is an Easter egg, and let's dip it in blue. You can shake off like this. You can continue to drip. You can turn it from side to side, and you can just slant it like this. I need to get that center. I might use the bamboo just to speed up the process. Give it a little help. And then let it settle on the rack. And this is, oh, I love this brown. This is a beautiful color. Now I'd like to do what I call the Napoleon. It's just a stripe across, evenly spaced. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Now remember, we're working in wet base coat, that's the blue, and wet top coat. And then you take a clean toothpick and you draw the Napoleon lines. And I call it Napoleon because that's exactly what they do on the tops of Napoleon pastries. And then you can turn the cookie and go in the opposite direction. And that took all of less than a minute. I think this one deserves a yolk, and it's so pretty. And then the kid will say, that's not a good egg. There's no brown eggs. The whites are white. Let them talk. Now, the ombre effect is also a very nice effect, and that's done in wet frosting. You can start by first dragging it in. I think I'll do a pink ombre. That's a beautiful rabbit. I love the shape of this rabbit. He's running away from the farmer, who's mad at him because he ate all the lettuce. A few dabs of yellow, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of blue. Now that looks sort of like a mess, but if you just squiggle it around a little bit, it will dry into a very nice kind of marbleized pattern on the rabbit. Now on the beautiful dried cookies, we want to have a little bit of detail. So it's nice to put an eye, a little brown beak, and maybe a little brown toenail. Polka dots, also another very cute way to decorate these easily. Oh, this little guy needs a little line down his ear. I think you get the gist. For very easy cookie decorating, the 4D method called dip, drip, decorate, and dry, and have a lot of fun. And thank you all for joining me on Frosted. Decorative eggs are a perfect adornment for your holiday table, and these nests are going to showcase them beautifully. And you can put them on the tables as place cards, whatever. Let me show you how to make a little nest just like these. You start with a circle of paper, and whatever the diameter of, or the circumference of the circle, cut a strip of paper as however high you want it. And with double stick tape, we just attach the, this way. We attach the bottom to the rim and go all the way around. Just affix that, and takes a little bit of time, finagling to get it around, but you just make the basket, here it is, and use some hot glue on the inside just to make sure you secure it for safety. That goes all the way around. And then you can use this beautiful nesting material and this beautiful fringed paper. It also has some clear cellophane in it. Can you see that? And this gets hot glue gunned to the exterior. Just put a little dot here and start it. And you go all the way around and around, dotting the hot glue until you get a nest that looks like this. And I love how that looks. And this beautiful grass, as well as this very fine grass, comes from De Bloemschen. This is a wonderful, wonderful company, and you should look them up online for all their extraordinary products. This grass comes in 12 different unusual colors, from pinks and cappuccino colors to yellows and greens. And then just fill your beautiful nests with eggs, if you like. Put hard-boiled eggs in them for the children, some Valrhona chocolate eggs like this, and a bumblebee. These cute little things are available at Michael's craft stores, and our wonderful daisy stickers. These are Martha Stewart crafts. They can just get stuck anywhere here and there, even on the eggs if you want. And you make a beautiful basket. Bath buns, spice buns, penny buns, Chelsea buns, currant buns, hot cross buns all have one thing in common. They're as English as afternoon tea. And traditionally, these soft and slightly sweet cakes are served on Good Friday. My mom made really delicious hot cross buns every Easter in our home in Nutley.
I had them for Ash Wednesday,
right,
and then for Good Friday.
Right. And they were tender and delicious and full of currants.
And
I always
sometimes
asked Mom
raisins.
to put more currants in them because she was always skimping on the currants.
I also used citron from time to time.
That's right. Well, here's a recipe that is an adaptation, I think, of Mom's original. 1 cup of milk, right, Mother? It's been heated just till it's
lukewarm.
Lukewarm. If it's too hot to touch it, it's too hot for the yeast. And you're pouring in
2 envelopes of dry yeast.
And that's just the regular dry yeast, right?
Fleischmann's.
Okay.
And you stir to dissolve.
And you need your sugar.
Half cup and 2 teaspoons of salt.
Half a cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay.
And now the melted butter.
Oh, yes.
That's been melted and cooled.
Yep. And
12 tablespoons.
12 tablespoons of unsalted butter.
And for flavoring, I used cinnamon and nutmeg.
Oh, great.
3/4 teaspoon of each will do it.
Okay, there's the cinnamon. So it's 3/4 of a teaspoon of grated nutmeg. Look at this beautiful nutmeg, Mother. This is so strong. I'm not going to add a whole 3/4 because this is fresh and pungent. So we'll see how that
I can
tastes.
smell it all the way here.
Oh, yeah, it's very fragrant.
To this, we add the flour.
Okay, so
5 1/2 cups. And I'll beat up 4 eggs.
now this is a really easy dough because it's just the liquid and
The flour.
Yep, really easy. 5 1/2 cups.
About that.
This was acceptable for Lent? Well, there's sugar in them. How did we get away with the sugar? I used to give up sugar for Lent.
We gave up candy.
Oh,
but,
candy.
Sugar in baked goods, we didn't have cakes or too many pies, but hot cross buns were acceptable because it's sort of a bread. And bread, you know, is the staff of life. And
there's always some rationalization.
You know, Easter is the season of the resurrection and of rebirth of spring. So bread had a very important part.
That looks good, don't you think? Okay, so why don't we take this off and see how we're doing.
Okay.
So how many currants are you adding?
About a cup of them.
Okay.
The more the merrier, you know. I like fruit in my cakes and buns.
Looks beautiful.
Take all this out, and I'll get going on kneading it.
Okay, how much kneading do you think it's going to require?
Well, we'll have to mix all the currants in first. And with scraper, please.
Here we are.
And it doesn't stick.
Lovely. And now this has to rise until it doubled in bulk.
Mm-hmm. I like to turn this around so that the top gets a little bit of butter on it too.
Good idea.
Now you cover it.
So we're going to let this rise for an hour and a half, but we have one already made that really did rise beautifully, didn't it?
Nice and spongy. So I'll turn it out on a lightly floured surface. Give it a couple more.
And I'm making the little egg wash, what's really an egg whitewash for the tops. Just a little bit of salt, water, and egg white. 1 egg white. So now this makes 24 buns, and you can form the buns, and I'm going to brush them with egg white.
And I'm rolling these between my hands.
Okay. And what's nice about an egg white glaze like this is that it doesn't really add any color, but it does add a beautiful shine. And this dough is dark because of all those spices. One thing my mother is very good at is high speed, big production. I think that comes from having such a big family, don't you?
Perhaps.
Oh, nice.
Okay, there you go.
So this, here you can
Cover that.
cover lightly with plastic wrap and let these rise until they're doubled in bulk and look like this.
They'll be ready to be baked.
Now, we're going to cut the tops of these in a cross that, who was it, Queen Elizabeth required? And so now these go into what temperature oven?
About 350, 375.
Okay,
Moderate
for
oven.
approximately 25 minutes. And here is a finished batch. Oh, they look so good, and they are tender. And to make the glaze, confectioner's sugar.
Right.
What else?
Well, we add a couple of spoons of milk to the confectioner's sugar.
Just a little bit, like 1,
That's enough.
2.
And a little lemon juice for flavoring and perhaps a little rind.
And we'll pipe this on. You can do it with a spoon, but it works so easily with a piping bag. And a nice little secret, so everything doesn't leak out of the pastry bag, is that the tip is covered with a piece of plastic wrap.
Oh.
See? So we can now decorate our hot cross buns with beautiful crosses.
Yeah, right into the cross.
I always used to lick off the cross.
I think most kids do.
And then I would eat my hot cross bun. Let's see if they're as good as I remember. Really good.
It's better.
Lovely little place cards are bunny rabbits, and I'll show you how to make them right now because they're so easy and you're going to want to do this. The template's on our website at marthastewart.com, and we've printed them out on a beautiful, we call this the articulated bunny place card. Articulated meaning that the limbs and the ears move. And you can just print it out on some sort of gorgeous paper. This is this beautiful, almost foil-like paper on hard cardstock that we have in our Michael's collection. And cut out each piece carefully, and then where the dots are, those are your joint, basically joints. You have to use your little punch, like this. This is our hole punch. And put the legs and the ears and the head right on your body. And we're using these tiny little, I love these little brads that are just, they're available in craft stores. And they make a very neat presentation. So there, we have everything done. One leg goes in the back, and one leg might match up the holes. And one leg goes in the front. That way the little rabbit can run away from you. And here's the brads. See how tiny they are? They are just big enough to go through without being too obvious. And what that allows you to do is run, see? That's so easy. And then the head and the ears, and this is what the bunny looks like. This one is going to run across the table. And his ears can move too. And as a place card, very effective to write just on one of the ears. Let's see, who else is coming on Easter Sunday? Richard. Let's put down Richard. And we'll just fill this out. And we have a really good Easter egg hunt planned for Easter Sunday. I hope it doesn't rain, because then there won't be any hunt. There it goes. And it'll be baby Jude's first Easter. She's going to have a great time. So there you have it. Just put that at every place. And when you design a table specially for a holiday, it certainly will add a lot of charm and personality to your celebration. This blossoming quince is so beautiful. Look how pretty these ornaments are hanging from the branches. Making these ornaments is really very easy. So you use a push pin and gently tap a small hole into each end of an egg. Stick a thin wire into one of the holes to scramble the egg and then break up the yolk. Use an egg pump to push out the liquid. Rinse the blown out egg in water and place it on a small cup to drain. Then there is the dyeing of the egg itself. Always remember to add a little white vinegar to the dye bath. This will act as a fixative. Another tip for beautiful eggs is to rub the eggs with a cotton ball dipped in white vinegar before dyeing. This will remove any grease from the egg and help it take on the dye. And remember, very important, use hot water in glass bowls for mixing the dye. Another wonderful tool that we created and use every year is this egg drying pin board. Take 1/2-inch foam core and measure out a 1-inch grid. Then insert a straight pin at every intersection of the grid. Now all the eggs have a wonderful raised place to drip dry. Christina and Sophie are using all of these beautiful dyed eggs to make even more ornaments for our egg tree. We started with these inexpensive plastic pearls. Then we dyed them in the fabric dye. It's very simple. Just by mixing the colors, you can get all these different shades. You're doing it very nicely, Sophie. Do you want to take us through the technique?
Oh, sure. So the ribbons are about, I would say, 1.5, 2 feet long. You can make them different sizes. Fold it in half and just make sure it's straight. And then we're going to tie a knot about 1/3 of the way up.
Big enough so it won't go through the egg.
And then take your wire, put it right on the edge, and then from there you have a very nice needly point.
And then 2 pearls for underneath the egg?
Yeah, 1 small and then 1 large.
And just draw this right through, like that.
Pretty.
And that's it. You can wear these as earrings. Let's see.
Ooh.
I know.
Stylish. Wait, Christina, let's try that.
But they are
But then you can
such
trim-
an easy way to make a really beautiful ornament. So let's get started with the basket.
Perfect.
Because, you know, every year I look for a different shape of basket, a different kind of weave, a different kind of material. And we found these beautiful baskets. They come in nests of 3. We found them over at in the flower market, and I like how they look, don't you?
I think they're great, and they're very good for children too, because your eggs aren't going to fall out.
Oh,
that was always so traumatizing when they fall and they crack.
Break,
and,
right.
Oh my gosh.
So, so we're going to decorate with Rickrack and Rickrack flowers.
Wonderful.
And we've just been applying Rickrack around the outside. And I love Rickrack. I think it's so pretty. And you can do that with hot glue all the way around. Do you want to add more to yours, or are you going to make flowers?
I'm going to make the flowers, I think, first.
Okay.
And these are so easy, which is so great, and they're beautiful. It's just a little felt round.
Now, somebody was telling me today that you put the rick up and the rack down. What are they talking about?
See, it looks pretty symmetrical to me.
I know. I didn't know which was the rick and which was the rack.
Yeah, where does the name Rickrack come from? Do you know?
No, I do not
I
know.
have to look that up.
I know. We should have all that information before we start on a craft project like this, because this is what happens when people get together to craft. All those questions, those very important questions with no answers come up.
Things you don't think
But
of.
I'm sure there is something about rick and rack.
Yeah, I've only used Rickrack when I was sewing a lot. I'd sometimes line the hem of my skirts. If I
Oh,
wanted
that's
kind
a
of
good
cute
idea.
look. Yeah.
So, so what are you doing for Easter this year, Sophie?
Well, I have to teach on Easter Sunday.
Oh, Sophie, you know, is the yogi extraordinaire who not only travels back and forth to India all the time, but also teaches yoga in New York.
Yeah.
And how many students do you have now?
Oh, I have a pretty decent-sized student body. I would say a couple hundred total.
Wow.
And I'm also doing my life coaching certification, which I'm very excited about. So I'm starting my practice. Actually, as of now,
Do you want
I'm
a
taking
very,
clients,
very
so.
difficult client?
Sure.
Oh yeah,
I like challenges.
You want me to tell you who it is?
Maybe if you feel, you can tell me.
It's me.
I'll take you on.
Okay. Yeah, right. You're not taking me on. Oh gosh. Can you imagine having your niece
no friends
coach
and family.
you? No friends or family. That's a good idea. I think that's a good policy.
I can recommend you to other people. How does that sound?
Okay. So to make these cute little flowers, you use Fabri-Tac. Don't use the hot glue for the whole thing.
Yeah, this is great because it's very forgiving too.
Yes, and and if this gets on your fingers, guess what? It doesn't burn.
And this has evolved. We used to use that stuff in the brown bottle, the white tacky things growing up.
Oh yes,
which is very good too. But this seems a little easier.
No, this is so good, and you have to gather it a little bit around the edge.
And to cut out the felt, you can use a cup, any round thing, just to make a nice circle.
Oh, to make the circle, yeah.
And then go ahead and start to layer it. And then while you do that, I'm going to show what it looks like at the very end.
How do you know all this already? I'm
I
supposed
was
to be
practicing.
teaching you.
I know. I had to hone my skills with this. So the last thing though is you just want to trim a teeny bit.
What, in the center?
Just once you're at the center, you're going to have an extra tail, and then trim it off and make a little loop.
Well, these are very
And that's
easy
what you
to
want to
make.
glue
Look
down.
how cute.
Yeah, isn't that? And
yeah. And I am doing the rick down.
They
and the
are
rack up.
forgiving. Now I have to look that up. All right, so this is a finished piece right here.
Just have lots of Fabri-Tac on hand if you're going to make a whole lot of flowers.
I'm going to start putting some on my basket. So we have some that we finished.
Yeah, I like the idea that somebody else makes all the flowers, and I can just glue them on. Now, this you do use the hot glue gun for.
You do use a hot glue gun. You can also make leaves, which is nice, just cutting a little of the extra green and fold that over.
So I'm going to put like one here.
But these are, I remember we made these Easter baskets,
right?
and we kept them for years. There's always...
Well, don't you still have all of them from my house?
We had a big tag sale last year, but we did up until that point.
Can you imagine? Aunt Martha's Easter baskets at a tag sale. That's horrible to tell me.
No, we kept the best ones. We did. My parents are trying to downsize.
I'm not giving you any more Easter baskets. There, but look how pretty. They do look awfully pretty.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And so you add them, and then we have a little styrofoam, which we're putting, of course, this has to come out for the egg hunt, because you want to make sure you have a lot of room in there. Okay. But put that down. We have these beautiful lollipops. And then just stick those in there.
You're filling yours already. I am still decorating. Okay, well, I'll start filling.
The little...
This is good. This offers stability, and actually, I would never put the styrofoam in the bottom.
I'd put Cadbury eggs. Cadbury eggs in the bottom.
Yeah, I would love, what? Who wants styrofoam? poor little children do not want to dig in their basket and find styrofoam in the bottom. Oh, lollipops. They will think, I would never do that in a million years, just to stand up. Well, I'll use it just to stand these lollipops, but
and these are these wonderful
way.
little candies, which are delicious. And I believe everyone in the audience is going home with...
Oh, yes. Oh, no, this size, that size.
That size,
These are from Hammond. These are from Hammond.
I sampled them, they're excellent.
And you have to have a chocolate bunny. Hammond's makes really great candies for the holidays. And then there's still lots of room for hard-boiled eggs, colored eggs, and whatever else the Easter Bunny happens to drop on his way through the farm, right?
The golden egg.
Yes.
Of course.
Well, thank you. It's always fun to have you here,
Thank you.
Sophie. Take the artichoke, these beautiful, all green. Make sure there are no little holes in the stem, no brown leaves, beautiful green heads, and cut the artichoke about halfway down. Use a serrated knife like this. It really helps cut through the nitty-gritty of that artichoke. Also cut off the stem. Now for artichoke lovers, steam this stem. Oh, so delicious. And just use that. And then you want it to be very pretty, so you're going to take off the little tough leaves at the bottom. And they have very sharp little, I guess they're little barbs on the ends of all the leaves. So cut about a third of the leaf off. This makes a nice presentation. And this is the way you do it for artichokes if you're just going to steam them and eat them with hollandaise. I wouldn't take off half the artichoke. I would take off maybe the top third. Just trim that like that. And then make sure that you open up, loosen the leaves. It makes the steaming process a a little bit faster. So really open that up like that. It's tough. These are very beautiful. They're thistles, really. Now put them on a steamer in boiling water and steam like that and the water can be lightly salted, steam for about 45 to 50 minutes until they are tender. Here's a beautifully steamed artichoke. Make sure that they're edible. Every leaf has to be edible. So good. And now we want to take out what I call the hoary core, and that is the center of the thistle. You want to get down to the beautiful heart of the artichoke, leaving as many of the exterior leaves as you can, because you want something to eat your souffle with. You're going to use the leaves as the spoon of the souffle. So here is the thistle. So scrape that out with a sharp spoon. I find a spoon works very well. And this is the inedible part of the artichoke. It's inedible, but my chickens love it. They eat all the interior. See that? That's the thistle. You can see it's a little woolly and sharp, not edible. And very pretty. And that is what you're going to fill with your souffle. Do this very neatly. Oh, it's so perfectly cooked, tender as can be. And an artichoke is pretty hearty, and even though it's going to bake again with the souffle in it, the tender leaves will stay tender and it'll be very, very nice. Now, immediately brush the cleaned artichoke. You can see how clean, with melted butter. This is extremely important. You're coating the entire inside and the outside with melted butter, giving a very nice flavor to the artichoke. And then we have breadcrumbs that we flavored with salt, pepper, and lemon juice, as well as a zest of lemon and a little bit of olive oil, like half a cup of olive oil. And I want to put this here, and we're going to put the breadcrumbs. I remember watching my next door neighbor in Nutley, New Jersey, Mrs. Allegri, do her artichokes like this, putting flavored breadcrumbs down, and she didn't miss a leaf. So gorgeous. And you learn a lot watching people. I hope you're certainly learning how to make this, because you should all make this. And if you're not going to make it for Easter, you should definitely make it for something. So now that is ready to accept the souffle mixture. And we're going to start with your base for the souffle, which is a third of a cup of flour, a cup and a quarter of half and half, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And heat this up, 1.5. Heat this and cook it until it looks like this. It's a very thick kind of base for the souffle. And you want to cool this off, and just put that in a bowl to cool, and add 1.5 tablespoons of butter on top of the warm flour and cream mixture. Just dot the top. So this will prevent a skin from forming, and the butter will melt, but it will not get a big thick skin on it. Now here we have that cooled mixture. Stir that up, and we're beating our egg whites. 5 large egg whites. And we add a little secret ingredient. It's called Just Whites. It's 100% dried egg whites. Then you add about 4.5 teaspoons of this. Get that to be soft peaks. So artichokes are very, very popular in the early spring. They are growing in California, and they're actually growing in my garden too. There are varieties now that grow in the Northeast very nicely. Oh, see, soft peaks. Very well done here. And we're also going to add into our mixture 3/4 pound of mixed cheeses. We're using a Comte, we're using a Gruyere, and an Appenzeller. Very pungent cheese, and 2 large egg yolks. So mix that all together before you fold in your egg whites. So gorgeous. This is a very fragrant souffle and very nice for Easter. You could do a spinach souffle inside the artichoke. I was trying to think of what would be the best flavor, but I think this really rich cheese souffle is utterly perfect. So lighten up that mixture a little bit with your egg white. And then add the rest. And then you put the artichokes back in a 400-degree oven for about 40 minutes until the souffle is nicely puffed. And that's what it looks like. That gorgeous, gorgeous, it could be a first course, it could be part of the main course. I'm going to be serving these with ravioli made from fresh pea puree, and lots of artichokes, and a ham, and lamb. I haven't decided what kind of lamb yet, but it's going to be a very nice Easter brunch. Hopefully I'm getting a shipment of kielbasa from Buffalo. Oh, this is such a beautiful mixture. And you see those big lumps of cheese in there, well, they're about 1/4 inch square lumps, are perfect. They take a while to melt, and they are very, very tasty when they're all melted together. So now just fill your artichokes, and it takes about 2 scoops in each. See how pretty? It's so fantastic. And I think we have some in the oven. I want to get those out so that you can see what they look like when they come out. Here they are. Oh, they are done. What do you think? I think those are utterly fantastic. For the best presentation, be sure that you serve the artichokes immediately. I thought I'd show you how to make some really delicious kebabs. Kebabs are thought to have originated with ancient Middle Eastern cooks who, out of necessity, had to devise a way of cooking meat with limited fire. Their solution was to thread small pieces of meat onto skewers, which cook faster than larger ones. As you'll see in this recipe for curry yogurt marinated lamb kebabs, they cook in no time at all. So we have 1 cup of Greek yogurt, unflavored, could be low fat or regular. Add to that a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped onion, and I'm mixing this whole dressing right in the same pan in which the lamb and the vegetables will marinate. Some honey, very nice, a 1/2 teaspoon of honey, Greek honey if you have it. This is my own honey. The zest of 1 lime. We're making a very flavorful marinade. Lamb just takes flavors really, really well. We also want the juice of 1/2 of a juicy lime. If your lime is kind of dry, use the whole lime. It's pretty. So you can cut your lime in 1/2 and juice it right into this mixture. And always zest before you try to juice it. Be pretty hard to zest that. Some salt and pepper. Oh, 2 tablespoons of fresh mint chopped. And some curry powder, 1/2 teaspoon. Get a nice flavorful fresh curry powder. Important that it be fresh. Spices do tend to get old, do tend to lose their potency, their flavor, and they also get rancid. So I think that's it for our marinade. Cut the meat into 1½ inch cubes. This is boneless leg of lamb. Some of the pieces may be slightly smaller, then you can put 2 pieces together. But isn't that gorgeous, gorgeous lamb? Oh, so beautiful. You can cook these on a griddle pan right in your kitchen. You can also do them on a gas grill or on a wood-fired grill. Just be sure that you don't have the fire so hot that the kebabs burn. You want to cook them fast but tenderly. So here we have the lamb all cut up. Pretty, isn't it? This is going to marinate for at least 8 hours in the refrigerator, and you can do it overnight too. Now I'm cutting these, I call this quarter cut. Keep turning the squash a quarter turn so you're getting an odd shape, and always cut off the end like that, like that. It gives more surface area, and it's prettier and chunkier. And the same with the yellow squash. And they all end up kind of being the same size, which is nice. And if you wish, a tiny bit more salt can be sprinkled and a little bit more pepper. Cover and refrigerate. So now here's lamb that has marinated with the squash 8 hours. Make sure that the pieces are all about the same size, and don't crowd the skewers. Bamboo skewers like these are readily available in supermarkets and cooking supply stores, and they should be soaked in water before you use them. It prevents them from burning once they're on a griddle pan like this or on a grill. I also like sometimes to use these beautiful rosemary branches. If you have a big rosemary plant or have access to rosemary that's growing quite large, you can use this because it's a woody stem. Just make sure that you cut the ends of these branches with scissors so you make a little point. Now to make a rosemary skewer, take a branch and just strip the leaves right off. They come off so easily. And oh, are they a fragrant, wonderful skewer. And these two can sit in a little bit of water until you're ready to use them. So now skewer meat. We're going to cook all the meat on the rosemary, and I'm going to do all the meat together and the vegetables together so that everything cooks in the same amount of time. So per person, I would say 4 pieces of meat. I'm going through the meat through the longest side, exposing the largest bit of meat to the heat. Now this can be done before your guests arrive so you're not there with dirty hands skewering kebabs. And now for the vegetables, you can use the bamboo and go also through the squash. And this can be done alternating colors. So now just lay your kebabs on your grill or your griddle. And look how pretty these look on the rosemary. These are best eaten as soon as they're done, but they can be made in advance also and kept warm. And they take about 4 minutes per side, so stay nearby and cook away. So once they've cooked about 4 minutes per side, just remove them to a platter and enjoy. These look so great, and I'm sure you're going to love their taste. So once off the flame, hot off the grill, just sprinkle with a little bit more salt, and you will definitely enjoy curry yogurt marinated lamb kebabs.